And we've seen that the Blue Jays can hit. Certainly we saw in the Texas series, so hitting should not be a problem for the team. And Ross Atkins and Mark Chaparro said they want to have a fast rebuild, kind of like what the Astros in 2014, where they were god-awful, and then 2015 they transitioned back into playoffs. So certainly possible for the Jays to be a 500 team next year. Potentially could push into the wild card. So pitching is going to have to be a big factor in that, and hopefully the Jays can add in some nice pitchers in the offseason, and hopefully the guys, the young guys like Vladdy and Bo can get their seasoning in and just get ready to roll for next season.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 500 team, it'll all depend on what they do this offseason to address their pitching. I think from an offensive perspective, I think a 500 record is certainly doable on offense, but they'll need that pitching if they can bring in some quality big league arms and guys who can stay healthy and things break right. I certainly don't think a 500 record next year is out of the question. But right now, if I had to bet on it, I'd probably still take the under a bit. I just don't know how much they can really address in one offseason, especially an offseason in which they're not expected to really contend in 2020. So put me down as a TBD, to be determined for that answer.
Interesting. So, Garrick _Matic 417 asked an interesting question saying, if you could get any player from the past 5 seasons back to play for the Blue Jays, who would it be?
That's an easy one. Jose Bautista, my all-time favorite player. Just a guy who, he just really didn't, I can't really swear on this podcast, but he didn't give a shoot. He just got up there and he was right in people's faces, and even when he had some bad blood with Darren O'Day with Texas, he went up there and answered the call. It seemed almost every single time. Every time he was being thrown out, he came up the next pitch and hit a ball deep into the left field seats. He just had so much swagger when he played, and he had so many big moments for this team that it's just hard for me to pick anyone else personally.
I'm going to go with Colby Rasmus. Just kidding. I'm going to go with Jose Bautista. Prime Jose Bautista, the 20 good old days, 2009 where it started, just 2010 to 2011. Just Jose Bautista was an animal. In the playoffs, he never backed down, and the Kansas City home run, still, I remember it very fondly. It was a great home run. And Jose Bautista, sad to see him not in the bigs anymore, but he was certainly an amazing player. And if the Jays could have a 2010 Bautista on their team with Vladdy right now, oh boy.
Yeah, even in 2017 when there was a legitimate argument to be made that Bautista might have been the worst player in baseball, as sad that is to say, and just going to the ballpark and watching every game, just seeing Jose Bautista in right field, number 19, it's just where he belongs. And despite the fact that I do like Randall Grichuk, it's sad to see anyone but Bautista patrol right field every day for the Blue Jays. And yeah, it's sad that he's no longer in the big leagues anymore, but I wish him nothing but the best, because he just gave us so many good memories, and all the good memories that we've had in the last era of contending Blue Jays baseball. He was right in the thick of things, so to me, this is a pretty easy answer.
Yeah, Bautista was the reason why I watched the Blue Jays in the beginning, so Bautista's an easy answer for us.
Who knew that we'd be nostalgizing Jose Bautista in summer of 2019?
Well, that's what off days do to you. Cameron _Irwin says, what do the Jays need to do this offseason?
Well, the answer is simple, and pitching. They need lots of it, and good pitching. Guys who can stay healthy, guys who can pitch innings, and guys who can strike hitters out. I think the current group that they have some tools. I think Sean Riccioli, he's a guy who's got some tools, but he's going to need to put it together to become a big league pitcher. Thomas Pannone, I don't see him ever being more than anything but a 5. I think if he's ever a fifth starter with an ERA below 5 and able to pitch 100 to 150 innings out of your rotation, you should consider yourself lucky. Ryan Baraki, I think he's a big question mark. He hasn't pitched a full season in the big leagues, and with his injury this year, we'll have to see how he rebounds from that. Anthony Kay hasn't thrown a big league pitch yet. Obviously, a question mark there. So, I think to me, the key to this offseason is to have some more answers as opposed to questions on the pitching front. And I think right now there's just way too many questions and not enough answers. So that's going to have to change for next season. if the Blue Jays are willing to contend at all.
Yeah, pitching is going to definitely be a prioritization for the Blue Jays. And Ross Atkins said they're not going to slow play the market this year, I believe. Earlier, right after July 31st, he said they're just going to go at it and get what they need. So hopefully they'll get some nice pitchers. But a bold prediction for free agency: Blue Jays trade Teoscar Hernandez and sign Marcell Ozuna to a 5-year contract.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that? It started cut out a little bit.
The Jays trade Teoscar Hernandez and sign Marcell Ozuna to a 5-year contract.
That's interesting. Marcell Ozuna is a guy I really like personally. Now on the Cardinals, he's a guy that I was hoping the Blue Jays would sort of get in 2000. I think it was 2018 or 17. I can't remember when.
December 2017.
Yeah, exactly. He's a guy that I was really hoping that the Blue Jays would wind up getting, but unfortunately it fell through the cracks a bit, and he ended up going to St. Louis. But I have to pull up the stats. Who knew I'd be opening up Marcell Ozuna's numbers now? But I'd be okay with that. I think Marcell Ozuna is an everyday big league player. He's got a lot of power, and he's got a hell of an arm. We see on the highlight reels, and as I mentioned before, a lot on Teoscar Hernandez. I don't see him being that guy, that everyday player. And Ozuna's numbers, they look good. He's got an OPS of almost 840. He's got a lot of power, 22 home runs.
In a
down season as well. So you can hope that the move to Rogers Center will certainly spike up those power numbers as opposed to St. Louis. He's just only 28 years old, so a 5-year deal wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I think it depends on all the value, the money value. But that's really an interesting take. Obviously, have to do a little more research before I can outweigh the pros and cons, but that's really an interesting question.
Yeah, and I believe Marcell Ozuna is like what Jays fans think Teoscar will be, but that certainly is up in the air. So, next question, I'm going to go through these, see which one I want. Marcus_Pavlik12 says, how many home runs will Rowdy end the season with? I mean, he has 14 right now, so a month and a half baseball. He does have the power. I'll give the over on 20 plus.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how much he's really going to play.
Well, Charlie said he's going to play.
Tell. Yeah, but it's hard to tell with guys like Rowdy Tellez. He just got up from the big leagues, from the minor leagues, and he's back in the big leagues. So maybe we'll see a bit more of an adjustment period there. Maybe he comes in raking hot like we saw Lourdes Gurriel do. So 20 home runs, I think it's definitely doable. But it really depends on how well he hits. And I feel like there's too much unknown to that aspect to really give a definitive answer. But I'm going to go ahead and say I'll take the over on 20 as well.
Next question, Matthew Jenkins 1616 asks, what is the future for Anthony Alford with the Blue Jays?
Yeah, that's interesting. Anthony Alford, a guy who appeared to be a top prospect for the Blue Jays not all that long ago, was sort of called up in 2017. Really didn't get much of a look. He played one game this year, I believe. So I think it really all depends on how this front office views him. Alex Anthopoulos seemed to really appreciate Anthony Alford. He didn't include him in any of his 2015 trades at the deadline, so that's something worth noting. But the fact that he hasn't gotten consistent everyday at-bats in the last few years is a little alarming. So I'm kind of really questioning whether or not Marshall Fire or Ross Atkins believe that Anthony Alford is part of the future. But I would hope, because he's just been in the pipelines for so long, that he's going to get an everyday role in the big leagues and given a chance, which really hasn't really been the case.
Yeah, Anthony Alford, I do like the guy. I remember in April he was up on the taxi squad for the Blue Jays, but he was sent down. Rowdy was up. I believe they were going through a Kevin Pillar trade that fell through, so I believe Anthony Alford was going to be the guy, but we saw a bit of him in 2017, and I liked him. He has a very good upside, but injuries have been derailing him. He was just injured a few weeks ago, got back with Buffalo, has a pretty solid start already. There's potential with him, so let's see if he can untap that, and hopefully he'll be up in the majors soon.
You want to know something interesting? I saw Anthony Alford's only ever RBI in the big leagues. I think it was against the Red Sox in last season, and he had an RBI up the middle on a base hit. The only RBI he's collected up to date, so that's a little interesting there. Just throw that in.
Nice.
Yep. What's the next question?
Let's see. David DJ Blanche asks your opinion on why the Jays didn't trade Galvis at the deadline for any type of assets.
I think the overall answer was that he wanted to give Freddie Galvis everyday playing time on a team, and at the trade deadline, all the contending teams really weren't prepared to offer Freddie Galvis an everyday role, so they waited until after the deadline where they could release him, and a team who was willing to give him those everyday at-bats would pick him up. And I think the reason why they did that, as I mentioned earlier on the podcast, was for PR motives, that they valued their PR appearance on this as more valuable than a lottery ticket. And as you mentioned as well, the money that Freddie Galvis was making might not even have warranted a lottery ticket.
Yeah, for sure, and you said it best, so I'm just going to stick with that we talked about before. Daniel Tiller _ asks, who makes the most sense for the Jays as free agent trade targets, starting pitcher wise, should they choose to add externally? I'm gonna go with
like a specific name.
You can go along. There's the tier 1 would be certainly Jarrett Cole. Maybe put Bumgarner in there. Tier 2 is like Wheeler, Alex Wood. So I believe Odorizzi, yeah. So the Jays should target those guys. Trade market, I don't really know who will be available on the trade market for pitching. I don't really know, but yeah, you could expect the Wheeler kinds, the Woods, and maybe a Bumgarner, but that'd certainly be a long shot.
I think Jake Odorizzi, the interesting part about him was that he played for Charlie Montoyo. Obviously, Charlie wasn't the main manager out of Tampa Bay, but does have some experience with Jake Odorizzi, so maybe that connection could sort of sway Odorizzi into Toronto. And I think Jake Odorizzi is the best name they can probably get, in my opinion.
Even with the
he's going to be expensive. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go after him. I'm saying that out of all the names that they could get, theoretically, he's the best. He's among the best.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I love Jake Odorizzi. He'd always be so good against the Blue Jays. That's all I remember from him. He's just have some Rogers Center experience, so he knows what it feels like to play at the Rogers Center. And as you said,
AL East in general?
AL East, yeah, he was on Tampa. And he's having a nice season. I don't have his stats right now, but I believe I checked them earlier. And he's been very good for the Twins, a really good Twins team. So Dallas Keuchel is another name. Rick Porcello, Tanner Roark would be a nice guy. Kyle Gibson even, but we could stay away from those guys like Trevor Cahill and maybe even like the Drew Smileys. Michael Wacha. Oh, I would like Julio Teheran. He has a player option. Jose Quintana also. So if Julio Teheran gets unrestricted, that'd be a nice guy for the Blue Jays to target.
Yeah, but Julio Teheran's having a very good season too, so I wouldn't be all that surprised if he comes with the compensation pick, no?
Yeah, but sometimes you just gotta suck it up, and if you want to win, you have to win.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he would sort of fall into that Odorizzi tier of the best guys they can get. He's having a very nice year for the Braves. In 25 starts, got a 3.35 ERA. He does strike out batters, not as frequently as he used to, but still those Ks are certainly very impressive there as well. Actually, never mind. Scratch that. I was looking at totality stats. So his Ks per 9 are actually the highest he's ever had in his career, so that's interesting too. Yeah, I'd definitely be more than happy bringing Julio Teheran in here. He's still very young. I mean, not very young, but he's still young enough that you could warrant giving him a 4-year deal.
Yeah, but I'd be fine with Dallas Keuchel, Tanner Roark, Alex Wood, Odorizzi, Kyle Gibson even. But yeah, just those guys in general. But I'd really want to stay away from the Matt Moores and the Brett Andersons, the Drew Pomerances, and get some real starting pitchers, you know?
Yeah, Dallas Keuchel, I think he's going to be 32 next year, and his best days are behind him. I don't know how high on him. I think, to me, Dallas Keuchel, he would just be a bridge guy, that he would just be there to give you some innings for a year or two before you're really ready to contend. I don't ever see Dallas Keuchel being a pitcher for a contending Blue Jays team. I think that's more of a pass for me. I think that could end up being a bad deal if you